Hi guys, just a real quick video on the 4 types of conflict in a story. So let me share my screen. Now remember, these are the 4 types of conflicts in the story. These aren't like personal conflicts, like I have a conflict with my wife, conflict with my boss, conflict with my kids, conflict with some guy on the street corner. No, we're not talking about those types of conflicts. We're talking about conflicts in a story. Remember, our definition of conflict is a problem that the protagonist has to solve and overcome. The protagonist spends almost the entire story resolving this conflict, either positively or negatively. So it can have either a happy ending or a sad ending. Okay, so there are 4 basic types of conflict and some variations of these things, but we're going to go basic. Okay, number 1, this is the most common one. It's called man versus man. Now, the use of the word man here really refers to mankind. It's not men as a gender, but it's mankind in total. So man versus man. And that's where one character has a conflict with another character in the story. Now, for examples, all Rocky movies. Those are great examples because they're actually fighting each other. If you've never seen a Rocky movie, you can probably ask your parents about this one. I know they have. Okay, the second one, man versus nature. So now the man, the character, is in conflict with some force of nature. So some examples of this, like the movie San Andreas with The Rock. You know, you have a big earthquake, and then he spends the rest of his time trying to protect his family from everything that's going around, from tidal waves to big cracks in the world opening up, all sorts of stuff. And if you go back a little bit more, there was another one called The Perfect Storm, where these fishermen are out on the ocean and they get caught in a hurricane, and before you know it, there's this big giant wave coming up and smashes them. Okay, man versus nature. Any asteroid movie, even though that's kind of science fiction-y, that would also be man versus nature. Okay, then we have man versus supernatural. And so that's going to be some kind of a force that's not natural. It's not another human, and it's not a force of nature. So if you look at that, like all superhero movies, like Thanos is not a real guy, right? He doesn't even represent a real guy. So superhero movies, you have horror movies, you have some kind of a monster, ghost, vampire, werewolf, witch, well, you know, whatever. Fantasy movies, things that just could never happen in real life, supernatural. And then all science fiction fits into this category as well. And then finally, you have number 4, man versus himself. And an example would be any plot where a character is fighting an internal, psychological, or an ethical battle. In other words, there's not necessarily a force outside of him acting on him, but he's got a decision to make. He doesn't know what to do. Should I stay or should I go now? If I stay, there will be trouble. If I go, there will be double. That's kind of the idea with man versus himself. Now, one thing you have to understand is these things interact with each other. It's very easy to have a man versus man plot that leads to the character doubting himself. So you would combine those. Or a man versus nature causing a character to doubt himself. Or there could be a conflict between characters in a man versus nature plot. So what we're looking for is like really what the dominant type of conflict is. Okay, guys, just a quickie on that. See you next time.